Hello, everyone.
Hi, this episode's all about creativity. We give some fun facts on how we stay creative and when we stop being creative, how we get re-inspired and become creative again. It's a lot of creative.
Please follow, like, subscribe. And if you like what you are hearing and seeing, please check out our memberships on YouTube and tandfiore.com for early and exclusive access.
Enjoy. I'm going to be on my iPad a little bit this episode because there's a lot of good nuggets that I don't want to miss. And if I don't use my iPad, we might miss some nuggets. I'm leaning into it. We're going with it.
All the wisdom.
She started it.
Yeah, I did.
Nuggets of wisdom. But so I was on Threads the other day. Shocking, I know. If you don't know what Threads is Instagram's Twitter.
That's a good way of explaining it. Yeah.
I love it. It's very fun. I love everything that's on it, minus the stressful parts of it. But you know, everything's stressful if you let it be, right? So
yeah.
Anyway, I was on there and I was just scrolling through, and one of the, I don't even know if I followed this person, but a question that totally caught me off guard, which spurred the whole reason that we're talking about creativity now, is it was just one question. It was, can you learn to be creative? And I was like, well, this might have just altered my day. I might have to sit and think about this for the next 9 hours. I'm not really sure, but
that does happen.
But right after I read it, you know how you have your response that just
your instinctual
or initial.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I was like, no, you can't learn. And before I could even finish it, I went, yeah, you can. You could totally learn to be creative.
Yeah.
I think you can learn to be creative. And then I thought about it a lot more in my whole derailed day with this. And I was like, okay, well, wait. Now, if we're talking about creativity for art and that, I think the nuance of it and the instinct of being creative in whatever medium you use, that's the part that's really hard to learn. And I think that's the part that people would say no to.
So you mean your instinct, you either naturally have it or you don't?
I wouldn't say the natural part so much as like a photographer's eye or a musician's ear or a producer's ear or whatever, or videographer's eye or a roller skater's toe.
That's not a thing.
It might be. We might have just coined something. It's like the photographer's eye and the roller skater's toe. I don't know. What else?
I just thought I'm not even going to say that out loud.
No? Okay, I'll keep going. So when I was thinking about this and I was like, okay, well, so I do know that the eye for photography and the ear for music, it's very trial and error. And it's a little bit subjective. I would say 20% is subjective and 80%, I almost messed up the math, and 80% is objective, because there's so much that technically has to happen to get you to the subjective point of whatever you're doing, that I think that it takes that 10,000 hour rule to get to that instinctual level. But I do think that it's learnable. I do think that if you want it bad enough and you try hard enough and you really, really desire it, you can absolutely learn it. I do think so. But if you made a good point before we started recording when I mentioned the 10,000 hour rule. If you don't know what the 10,000 hour rule is, I'm going to butcher whatever it officially is, but the 10,000 hour rule is basically to be very proficient at whatever you're choosing to do. After 10,000 hours of repetition and practicing it is when you are proficient.
Mm-hmm.
So in my head, I go, the instinct, the eye, the ear, that's the 10,000 hour rule. If you aren't already naturally creative in whatever medium.
It's such a strange thing to think about, if you're naturally gifted in something or not, because I feel like no matter what, so much work and effort goes into it. So like if you really do care about something, then you can be creative in it. Like you can develop that. So yeah, I do think you can learn it. But I think everyone's creative no matter what. It's just how far you want to push it. So like when you pick out an outfit in the morning, when you choose a recipe to make, when you like do all of that, that takes creativity. I think that everyone is naturally creative.
But okay, but do you think that you can learn to be like very artistically creative, I guess? Do you think that's teachable or learnable?
Yeah. I mean, I can only speak of my own experience, but I obviously I grew up artistic roller skating, and it wasn't until Taylor and I had been together for a while that we were having some discussion about being artistic and being creative. And I was like, what are you talking about? No, I'm not artistic. I'm not creative. And he was like, are you kidding me? And I was like, no, what are you talking about? Like I was so set in it. And I just didn't think of anything that I did as being creative.
Well, I mean, I don't fully remember that conversation, but I do remember going, Nicole, what did you win 4 world championships in? And you said like something else. And then I was like, no. What is the type of skating you did? And you said artistic roller skating. And I said, okay, what was that one more time? And I was like, so are you an artist or are you not?
I hate when he makes me repeat things when I say things.
I'm like, yeah, it's in the
obvious.
name.
Yeah.
I can't make it any more clear.
But then it's like, was I naturally gifted at choreographing? Like, or was that something that I learned over time because I was choreographed for a long time? But then there's also the argument of like, I would take what my coaches would do and like change it to how I wanted to do it. So that takes creativity.
Do you know what that's called? Do you know what the term for that is called? You took your artistic license.
Yeah. See, I didn't know that. Like it didn't connect.
Well, I guess that ties into what we were talking about before we recorded. And you were saying how you don't know if anybody in skating feels like they were creative or artistic. And then that made me think about it. And I was like, well, are they actually in denial of being creative, or did none of them realize how creative they were being and only like focused on the technical side so much that you didn't think about the creativity, even though the creativity was flowing and fully there? So there was no one to nurture or like push you further into creativity. Like that's such an interesting thing that I don't know how we would even dive into it unless we start talking to all of those people and figure out whether or not they knew that they were creative or if they think that they're artists. Or
I wonder, because it was just never discussed. It was never talked about.
Before we get too far, I would love for you to comment whether you agree or you don't agree on if you can learn to be a creative. I am so curious about everybody's opinion, and there's no wrong answer. I'm just so curious on what everybody's perception is, because as a creative who inherently thought no, absolutely not. And then as I was saying it, I was like, well, I wasn't a photographer or videographer first. Right. At all. I was like, I was a musician, and that one I know that was like natural. Mm-hmm. But like the photography and videography, no. So I was like, I kind of learned it, but then I'm very curious. So if you can comment and tell us whether you agree or disagree, I really want to know. And if you're listening on Apple Podcasts, if you leave a review, you can give me your opinion. And everywhere else, same thing. And if you want, we can start this conversation on Threads.
Hey.
Yep. That would be dope. I'm Who's Taylor on all of it. Otherwise, you can follow Glitter in Cat Litter. Like Glitter N Cat Litter. Either one, we could totally have a conversation about that. But yeah, so it
would be interesting.
I wish we could dive further into like that specific thing, but I don't I know that like from talking to you, it's just a giant shrug on whether or
Yeah.
not there's any information to
I mean,
go off
literally,
of.
like the thing that I first started winning at is called creative solo.
Oh, I don't even think I was able to slam you with that one.
No,
I only slammed you with the
I think
artistic roller
I'm just
skating.
now telling you that. Like,
Well, I knew it was
it's
creative solo.
yeah, but like that's the name, and I just no thought of creativity. Like
That is very funny.
it's just wild because we were like creating these things, like a routine. You're not given the routine for creative solo by your coach who created it. Like, you know. Anyway,
I wonder if they had to be creative in the process of creating it.
I would assume.
We're spiraling down a rabbit hole.
Okay. Now that I mean, everyone who is creative, because you are naturally creative and all of that, how do you stay creative?
That's a great question. I did forget one nugget that I wanted to mention.
I just can't. With the nuggets.
You started it.
I know.
No,
I love it. Okay.
so Rick Rubin is a very well-known music producer who has an amazing podcast, a really good book. If you're any form of creative or think about anything vaguely creatively, his book, The Creative Act,
It is
just unreal good. It's so good. But I bring this up because the first chapter in that book, on the first page, they describe creativity. And in the description, it is creativity is not making art. Creativity is creating something that didn't exist before. So everyone is creative. It is your human right to be creative. So as this whole podcast continues to go, that thought in mind, it almost breaks me when I think about like, it's not just about art.
Right.
It's not about art. It's about everything, whether that be like a conversation that you have to start it. So that is the creation of a conversation, a note to a friend, figuring out a new way to get home if there's too much traffic or something, or go to work, like choosing dinner, your outfit for the day.
Yeah.
Like it's so crazy how we perceive stuff so like black and white to like, oh, I'm not creative. I don't make music. I don't take photos. I don't make videos. Like I can't do that.
I genuinely think I remember having this thought growing up because I was really, really not good at arts and crafts and like in school, like drawing and creating things like that. So from a very early age, I just thought I was not creative. I was not artistic. I was not creative.
Yeah, I guess you just hadn't found your thing yet. Because I remember like I ebbed and flowed through like a lot of creativity stuff.
And I think
throughout my life.
You still do.
Yeah. Well, okay. So now to go back to your question, you asked, how do you stay creative? Mm-hmm. Secret for me here, I don't. I hate it. I don't stay creative and I hate it. I wish I could change it. I'm working on it. We're not perfect.
I think that's part of it though.
I just want to be creative always.
You can't always get
Oh God, I do that. I sing that to you all the time. My trend with creativity is, and I'm very lucky because I'm creative in like, I don't want to, I'm just going to say it. I'm very good in 3 mediums. I think that I'm good. I'm good enough to be fulfilled as an artist in 3 separate mediums, which is photography, videography, and music.
He's also just very good at a lot of things.
It is a blessing and a curse, I will say. And the blessing is I have a lot of things to distract me when one of the things is not going well and I don't have any creativity flowing. Mm-hmm. The curse is that with the way the social climate and social media and everything is, maybe not social climate, that's the wrong word, I think. The way social media and like everything is, because I am creative in many things or a few things, it doesn't really bode well for me on the internet because it's really, really, really hard to communicate that like I actually do these all professionally. Like I do genuinely do them all professionally and I do them, I think, pretty well. But every time you showcase it on social media, it basically discredits the other one as you do whatever creative you're feeling at the moment. So like if I go do like a drum cover or something that I'm doing just because like I genuinely like it and I'm super proud of it, but then like next week I show like this video I've been working on for like, I don't work on anything very long, so I over exaggerate this, like for like a couple weeks, a week or whatever. And like, or photos that I just love and I post them. It's like, I get either discredited as like, oh, you're a musician, but like occasionally you take photos, or oh, you're a photographer, but like, oh, you also drum. Like, okay.
Yeah.
So it's very like, people don't know why they would follow me. People don't know how to follow me. So it's really kind of this weird, I've pretty much owned that like my Instagram won't leave 2,900 and change followers. It hasn't for like 5 years.
This is a real thing.
It's funny because side note, I don't actually like really care so much how many followers I have. More so, it bugs the absolute crap out of me that I have not left the 40 to 99 of 2,900 the entire since like 2019.
Literally 99. Like
I've had
so
99.
Close.
Never have I seen 3,000. And I'm like, this is hilarious. I'm like, I honestly, it's almost like it's broken and I can't. And I'm like, that's okay.
It used to bother me so much. Like I would share it and like tell people to follow you, and then it worked, and then it didn't work, and I was just like, oh, whatever, it's fine.
I think part of it is also my own fault because I typically have a hard time consistently posting, and then when I do consistently post, it usually ends up only being on my stories.
Gotcha.
And then I go, oh, I never posted any of that for real. I just was like, oh, here's all of the cool stuff I'm doing for 20 minutes for everybody. And then it's gone.
That's fair.
So, there's that.
It definitely ebbs and flows, like with everything, with creativity and with everything that you do. Like you are, I think, lucky that you have something to go to, like another thing. Because when I am not staying creative or as creative as I want to be, I actually just have to kind of step away. Like I just stop doing the thing for a moment to consume something that will inspire me.
Yes. Okay. So basically yours is when your creative cup is empty, you go fill it up with different creativity, and then you come back fully inspired and ready to go.
Yeah.
Man, I wish that was my life. Oh.
So like I can watch a movie or a music video or something and it can spark new creativity.
I don't know if the disappointment is showing on my face
or in your voice.
So I can say that there is very often that the same thing happens with me, but it's very difficult for me to push it in a direction. Mm-hmm. And I think that's part of my curse of being not just one creative, because like we can go see a movie and I'll be like, dude, I'm so like amped to go create everything. And then I'm like, okay, where do I start? I'm like, oh, I loved the visuals of that movie, so I could go do that. Oh, but the music was so good too. Oh, but like the behind the scenes photography, I bet was unreal. And then I'm over here like, well, now I'm like lost because there's 40 creatives that I have to try and sift through for myself. This is such like,
I mean, that process,
blessing problems, I guess.
That process, like my friends have, I hope, gotten used to, and I hope it's not a problem, of me like setting my phone down and like filming a little step. Like we'll be out at dinner and we're outside talking after dinner or something, and we're having a conversation and someone can say something and it just sparks a dance move of all, like it doesn't really make sense how it happens, but I'll like set my phone down somewhere where I can see my feet and I'll like step out a little thing. But then coming back to it and like creating the thing from it is a little difficult. So like that's like you seeing the movie and being like, oh, so inspired. And then you actually go to step into it and you're like, ugh, like you get stuck.
Well, what do you do? What works for you when you do that? Like, do you step into something, or is there a way that you channel it, or you just kind of have to just force yourself to wherever you're going?
I mean, with different things, like to get into it for skating things, I just pretty much have to put my skates on.
Is there like a headspace like that happens with your skating, or is it just kind of you just put your skates on and ta-da? Because I mean that I feel like there's got to be something. Because I notice that from you walking around the house, or just or really anywhere, you walking around, you have a posture, but then the moment your skates are on, you're like a heightened posture. Like it's a very distinctly different. So like,
Yeah.
it's almost like Batman putting on a suit, which is
Yes.
which is very funny to say. But like honestly, it's kind of like what. Like, because it's not a long process to put your skates on. So
No.
what channels?
I think that it comes from doing it so much. And like I have developed over the years a sense of like the moment I put my skates on, it used to be the moment I step out onto the skating floor, I had like a different persona. And it was just like a heightened, better version of me in a sense. So it was like me,
Like
I'm
a more
saying
performance
mentally.
version?
Yeah, for me. And it was like I could be having the worst day. I could be thinking whatever negative thoughts, but the moment I step out onto the floor, number one, I have to be clear-minded because, you know, you have to think a lot to be safe on skates. But it was like I was a new person. And for me, it's part of when I was growing up, I was very shy and very quiet. And I could be loud and expressive on skates. Not like literally loud, but like my personality could be loud. So I think it's coming from that. But now it's genuinely like the moment I put my skates on, I'm good. I'm in the zone. Like I'm totally good to go.
So yours is very like, it's almost like you're putting on the mask.
Yeah,
You
like
know
I'm
what I
putting
mean?
on
Like,
my cape.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And honestly, when I said the mask, I just think of the movie The Mask with
Mask,
Jim
yeah.
Carrey. And I'm like, oh man, maybe I'm going to watch that later. No, but that's really interesting because we had mentioned it in an episode that we're not going to use. I don't even know why I said that. I could have just left that
We
part
had to
out.
practice a little bit. We had to
Yeah.
record a few episodes before we released any.
I had mentioned that when you were talking about performance, and you were saying how much I performed, but it never registered to you that like all of my performance was behind something.
Yeah.
So like inadvertently, yours is also behind something, but you happen to be in it. So
Yeah.
your
That is
skates
really
are what
interesting.
you're behind. Where for me, it was always either like a guitar or
Yeah.
like computer synth stuff.
Well, and then so on the flip side, like creativity in storytelling and in like creating videos and in like specifically YouTube videos, that is way more challenging for me to get in the zone, like to get in my creative flow because I second guess a lot. Like I'm not sure of it.
Yeah. So by YouTube videos, you mean more like longer form videos, right? Not the short form like TikTok and
And
Instagram.
kind of just being, yeah, like being without skates. Like almost anything without skating.
That's very funny. If you held your skates, does it work?
Yes.
If you're holding your skates.
Genuinely, yes.
If your skates are in a line of sight, does it work? So you're saying
no,
you have to have them with you.
yeah,
Very interesting. But it doesn't change the short form content. The short form content just works.
no,
That's such an interesting like safety net. And like
Yeah.
where that line is very interesting. So any of the short form stuff, it doesn't really matter whether you have it or not. I wonder if it's because it's so short, you don't have enough time in the process to actually process that.
to second guess
You're-
myself.
Yeah, you're literally doing it with or without the skates. Okay, that
Like
makes
I,
sense.
I'm just now remembering, I literally had like an interview and for a job I wanted or something, and they weren't going to see my body, they weren't going to see my feet, but I literally put my skates on.
Oh, it was a Zoom one, right?
Yeah,
Or,
because
yeah.
I was like, I really need to feel confident.
That I remember you saying that. I don't remember what it was for, but I do
was-
remember that. You were literally like, you were skating around the house, and I'm like, what is this meeting? I thought this meeting was like a conversation with you, and you're like, yeah, I just want to be confident. And I was like, do it.
I probably was like too insecure to even tell you that that's like what I needed, but yeah.
I mean, I asked.
Yeah.
I do remember.
But yeah, that's a weird thought. I just remembered that. Yeah.
That's
But
funny. That's interesting.
what do you do? What is your vice? What is your
To
like
stay creative?
Yeah.
Literally to not be creative. It's not there's it's kind of unfortunate, really. But you know, it I'm still working on it. I'm still trying to get there.
Aren't we all?
You know, truly, it's been the weirdest experience to go from being like really, really, really creative and like I wouldn't even say my like cup was full, but I would say like I was very creative, and then I pushed myself like way too far off the cliff, and then I got really lost, and then it took like more than 2 years of not doing anything really for music outside of like one or two like paid things with music.
It was a dark time.
It was very not good.
It was
for
a
me.
quiet time.
It was. Yeah, I basically well, so to tell that, which does not answer this question really, but to tell that, like so in 2020, I was trying to find why I was losing my creativity, and I did, I think, the exact opposite thing I should have done, which was create so much that it became free flowing. And instead, I put so much pressure on creating so much that I basically sucked all of it out of me, I think, for a while. And I mean, it was really cool because I really like some of those songs. I did like a whole thing that I was going to do like a whole EP, which is a short album, like 3 to 5 songs, 3 to 7 songs every month. And I did that until the October of 2020. And then I didn't write music again, like personally for myself until this year, like a couple months ago at most. I think it was like maybe 2 months ago that I started writing music, and we're in July of 2023 for when this gets dated.
So I mean it's unfortunate that happens, but I feel like that does happen. So how did you get out of it?
I literally had to force myself to do stuff. I've bought so many things that I would hope would inspire and spark more creativity. And now that I'm feeling more creative, they do. But it was definitely not the same feeling I was really hoping for and like experience that I was expecting it to do. You know how you buy something and you go, this is going to make me this. And then it doesn't make you that at all. And that's what I've done a few times. But like nothing like that's gonna destroy our lives. But
luckily,
but so in all of that and everything that I've learned, I basically like had to like hard reset myself. Like I literally had to forget that I was a musician. And it actually, I've never told any of my friends that have said this. So anybody that feels triggered, don't feel triggered, but it did trigger me.
It's a little difficult.
I'm trying to be vague because there's not really a specific person, but like I know that it was heartfelt. But anyway.
Yeah.
Anytime anybody in that 2 years or 2+ years asked me how my music was going was like the most detrimental thing to me because it hurt so bad to say I've done nothing. And it was like the most frustrating and the most like sad thing because like what was my entire life was now non-existent. And if I thought about it, it like crippled my ability and made me so sad and so frustrated. I didn't even want to go on my computer or like look at it. And like I have my guitars. My guitars are like literally next to our couch. I have a drum set in our living room pretty much. My desk and my computer is like set up for music stuff while also being set up for everything else. And I'm like, I already live around it all day.
Yeah.
So then that just, it always hurt a little bit. But like, at least it reminded me that like I needed to figure it out, but I also had to give myself space. So it really ended up being like, I genuinely had to forget. I like basically had to do what any IT guy does where it's like, did you unplug it and plug it back in?
Or what you do to me with
go take a lap. But I took a 2.5 year lap.
Sometimes it takes 2.5 years.
But yeah, I would say the biggest thing I learned from that is that you have to allow yourself to stay open to the opportunity of being creative. Not open to being creative, just the potential that maybe you might. Like sometimes every once in a while now, I like always have a camera with me. Not my iPhone. I do always have my iPhone with me, but like not that camera. I always have like a physical camera with me.
Yeah.
And sometimes it feels slightly inappropriate, but I never, I was going to do a double negative. I always bring it with me.
Yeah.
I always have it because I want to always have something to allow me to feel inspired. If I see something and I'm like, I got to take this with my iPhone. There's nothing wrong with my iPhone's camera, but it does not bring the joy that my camera brings me. So
Yeah.
I always bring it with me, whether or not it like is warranted. I might have it with me and not take a photo at all, but I'd rather have it and not need it than need it and not have it.
It's like not having rules. Like if you make a rule for yourself that like something has to be perfect, like, oh, I have to make this thing and it has to be good. It's like setting yourself up for a disaster when you're like, I just want to create this thing and you're open to it. And then it's like, oftentimes that's the best thing.
Yeah, that one I definitely want to dive more in at some
For
other
sure,
time
yeah.
with this, because that's very much what social media has created,
Yeah.
you know? And that's definitely a topic that's on my mind, especially after we are doing this one.
Yeah.
But the getting in the zone thing.
Yeah.
So for you getting in the zone, it's putting on your skates and boom, you're there.
Yeah.
It's just like, I guess it's like you have your blanket and it's like, boom, we're there.
Exactly.
Like your little thing. I don't know that I have.
Your computer?
No, definitely not. I can promise you I'll do 1,000 work things before I will ever contemplate a creative thing.
There's also so many other things like coffee.
But that puts you in the zone. Like you have a little bit of coffee and you're like, let's go creatively.
Kinda.
Gosh,
it's
man.
not like the thing, but there are a lot of little factors that help.
I gotta channel whatever you're drinking. Can I have some of your Kool-Aid? Because man,
It's a
I
pour
need
over.
it.
It's not espresso. I'm sorry. Okay,
don't
so
want it.
on that note, like when I'm feeling super creative and I'm like in the zone and in the flow, does that bother you when you're not feeling that way?
No, I mean, well, mostly no. I mean, of course, there's going to be days where I'm like, all I want is to be creative, and you're the one that's being creative, and I'm like, pfft. But like, that's such a
That was so cute.
it's such a like bad space to be mentally with that. I mean, but I feel
I'm
like
sure
that
it happens.
Yeah, but not that often with me. Not with me with you. No, not
Yeah.
really. And I can't think of a time where I've been like, oh, they're being creative and I'm not. That's stupid. Like I've never been that way with that. I've always been like more interested in either if I know I'm not feeling creative or inspired or I'm too tired to like do anything, then I try really hard to like pay attention to what they're technically doing.
Yeah.
Because then that way I can go like, oh, those are cool things that I can use. Or I do go like, that's a weird way to do that. They could have done it that way and it would have worked not necessarily better, but it would have worked like more seamlessly or not or whatever, right?
And then you can go try the thing.
But it might spark enough for some other day for me to be able to do something with it, which could be really neat. But I've never felt weird about you like popping your skates on and skating around the house and doing stuff. It's always been cool. It's like, it's a vibe and it's like keeps the energy higher. You're in better spirits. Like every time you're doing that, you're always like happier, more like, I don't know.
That version
like,
of
yeah, you're always that version of you.
It's just an interesting concept to have like me legitimately not thinking that I was creative. And like the whole first year of our relationship, I was like, oh, he's the creative one and I'm the business one.
I think that lasted like 3 years. I think
Maybe.
it was more than that.
It's been a long time.
Yeah.
But then like when I put my skates on and I'm doing something super creative in the house and we're literally like feet apart from each other. And I've always felt like I'm annoying him when I'm doing that. And it wasn't until recently that we were talking about something and you were like, well, you haven't been like skating around the house. It's been really depressing. Like the vibe in here has been really depressing. And
yeah,
I'm
I don't think I would have said depressing.
No,
the vibe though.
You would have said something like that, but I was like, what? Wait, you like that? Like I thought I was annoying him that entire time. And he was like, no, that's like really nice. I like that.
Yeah, I used to be very like anti vibes. I'll elaborate slightly. So I used to think that like saying you could feel the energy or the vibe in a room or like or like with people or whatever. I used to be like, that's not true, that's not real, whatever. And now I think the opposite, which there's not a right answer, I don't think, but I feel it. So I can safely say from someone who used to not feel it and be like, this is so stupid, to someone who now is like, no, wait, this affects me in such a strong way now that it's almost a bad thing. It's almost better if I had still thought it was stupid sometimes, because there's definitely scenarios that I go into with people that I feel it and it like, I react more subconsciously than consciously to it. And then afterwards, I'm like, why did I say like that? Or like, why was I so quiet here? Like, why didn't I like engage more like I normally would? And then I think about the scenario and I go, oh, no, I see. Actually, I know exactly what it is.
Yeah.
Like, oh, all right, I got it. That sucks. But like, it is what it is.
Yeah.
Yeah. But so like, that's so crazy that I still can't get over. It's funny that like this is on the podcast and it feels like it would be fake, me saying this right now, but it is genuinely not blowing my mind, but it's hard for me to grasp that you're like, yeah, I just put my skates on and we're good. Like we're in it. And I could do any form of long form video with my skates on and I'm good to go. And I'm like, can I buy a hat for that? Like, you know,
like,
I could.
An actual example, whenever I would like set up to film, there was a stretch of time when Taylor and I were like figuring out how to work together, and I would do something. I would start a class and my brain would just like completely disappear and I wouldn't know how to do something. And he would get frustrated with me. And I have my skates on. I'm like ready to start this class. If I didn't have my skates on, I would have been a wreck. Like I would have been so distraught. The fact that I had my skates on and I like could do this thing completely fixed it.
I do remember that. I don't think that's worth really like dwelling into, but I wonder.
It's not.
I wonder if that has something to do with your skates going on, and it's the performance side that like it's all performance, it's all the skating, the energy into that your technical side just kind of turns off a bit.
I'm sure. I've never even thought of that.
I hadn't either. And that's very interesting because I can think of 1,000 times when you literally set it up and then you wonder why it doesn't work. And I'm like, you literally did it. I wasn't even in here.
I still do it. Like I call you and I'm like, it's not working. And you're like, did you plug it in? And I'm like, no.
There are a few times now where you're like, dude, I can't see this. Oh my God. I have a meeting in like 2 minutes. I can't find anything. Nothing's working. What is it on? And I'm like, and I'm usually here and I look at her computer and I go, you might want to plug it in first.
It's the worst.
And she's like,
actually, it's not the worst. That's the best when that happens because it's not something that's actually wrong.
Well, you just feel like incompetent. And you're like, man, I knew that was what I needed to do. How dare I?
I definitely knew better. But
yeah, see?
Anyway, what is your favorite part of creating anything, being creative?
My favorite part of creating would have to be the getting lost in it. Because that getting lost in creation is like the transcendence of time. And that sounds like the biggest, most wildest thing, but it is so true. And I think that goes for everything too, because there's people who talk about like reading.
Yeah.
Oh man, they talk about reading like I could sit here and explain creating, like musically for me mostly. Like you just start, and when you're in that like flow, that's rare for me to get into, but when I get into it, you're in it. And it's like you started in the morning and then you look up and it's nighttime and you haven't gotten up and you might not have gone to the bathroom at all in the day and you probably didn't eat because you didn't move. And you're like, I'm positive I was only here for 2 hours.
And this is why Taylor was so skinny in high school.
I don't think that has anything to do with it, but I'll take it.
I remember this is why I was like so fat. I mean, this is not just why I was so fascinated with you, but like.
Oh, I thought you were going to say this is why I was so fat. I was like, where are you going?
No, like when we met each other in high school, I was fascinated by him because he had so much time and energy for things, but then there were days when he would just disappear and he would be writing music. And I was like, what? And I was like, I would disappear too because I had practice, but it wasn't like it was practice back then. It was like a scheduled this time to this time. There wasn't enough time to get lost in it. I mean, there was, but I couldn't get lost like for a whole day because they had session. But like you would actually disappear.
That's crazy because I know that I used to, and I know that I would, but like I never. I guess we're so connected now. Not specific. Well, us, but like the world is so much more connected than it was then. Like I remember iMessage was kind of on the computer, but if you didn't have an iPhone, there was zero chance I could text you from a computer. And I was on my computer, and I would usually get lost.
I didn't have an iPhone.
I'm not throwing shade. Let me be very clear. I'm not throwing shade. I'm just saying that
yes.
iMessage was the on a computer. If you didn't have AIM or whatever, no, that's
yeah.
I don't think
I had that
in high school. It wasn't on AIM.
No,
it was before high school. Anyway, if you weren't on an iPhone or on the Apple platform or on a computer or whatever, I didn't have a way to communicate with you from my computer, and most of the time, my phone would just be sitting like over there on my desk, and I'm just here, just going. And most of those songs are absolutely not good.
Oh, I don't know about that.
I will Scout's honor. They were not good. I don't know why. I wasn't even a Boy Scout. I don't know why Scout's honor.
I do remember you like really being in that. And I think you still do that because there are times when I like need to ask him a question and I see that he's like focused on something and I'm like, I probably shouldn't ask him that.
I feel like it's mostly better to just text me because then if it pulls me out of it, I chose to pull out of it instead of you.
That's true.
Instead of you being like, hey. And then I'm like, great, there was the one flow I've had in the past 2 years. Thank you for absolutely pulling me out of this, one inkling of creativity.
Oh, gosh.
It's not that bad.
It's not that dramatic.
No, I'm being overly dramatic. As far as, I don't know, I wanted, when I was thinking about this question, I wanted to say like sharing it and like sharing my music or sharing.
That's part of my favorite.
Yeah, it is not it for me. I've realized I still like I wrote it as like a note of like sharing ? And I was like, no, it's not. It's definitely not at all.
It's scary. The sharing part is scary.
When I don't care very much, it's awesome.
Okay.
But that's not to say I don't like the product that I'm giving. It's whether or not I care too much that I'm now like cut off at the knees. I can't share it because I care so much that when people say they like or don't like it, that it would hurt me because I like it. Another little tidbit from Rick's book, from The Creative Act, is he mentions
the diary thing?
No, that's a great one too. But this is he mentions that creativity, wow, I said that weird. But your art, your pieces of whatever that you release are meant to cause an emotional like feeling. Like it's meant to emotionally affect people. That does not mean it has to be positive.
Right.
And I was like,
this book, we had to buy another one because this is how dramatic, like every page of this, I am just blown away. And I don't know if it's just like the headspace we've been in or if it is that good. Like, I think it's just that good. But we had to buy a second copy because I kept stealing his book. And he was like, are you seriously reading my book? Like, I bought this book for me and you're taking it from me. And I was like, yeah, it's really good. And then he bought a second copy.
I literally that same day I went, buy it. You'll have your copy here tomorrow. Thank you, Amazon.
What I briefly mentioned with the diary is that he says that when you put something out there, a work of art or whatever it may be, that it's like a diary entry. Like you have to think of it like that. You're taking something that you created and you're putting it out there for other people to consume. And you would never go back to a diary entry and critique it. You'd never go back and be like, that wasn't good enough.
Gosh, man, that is so hard.
Yeah. But when I think about it, I'm like, yeah, that makes complete sense. That wasn't even in the book. That was on.
Yeah. He said that on some podcast.
Yeah.
And man, that one. Whew. That almost ruined my day that day too.
It didn't ruin my day.
No, I would have been stuck.
Oh,
I would
it's
have been
stuck with me. Yes. I've repeated it to so many people because it's so important.
Well, something, I don't really know how this ties into it, but it kind of does a little bit, is kind of back to the like if you're in a flow,
Mhm.
if like it bothers me, but like it bothers me when I'm in a flow and you're here when I'm doing music stuff. And I think this is just me being overly polite or overly caring of other people's feelings.
Yeah.
Because for a long time so this wall is actually a joining wall to our neighbor.
Hi, Linda.
And yeah, hi, Linda. And so when I originally had this as my studio for music stuff,
this was his studio.
this was the wall that the speakers were off of. And I like almost could never turn it up to a point where it was actually useful because I was so concerned with what she thought. Only to find out like 2.5, 3 years later, after it was no longer my studio, that she never once had heard me ever. And I was like, okay, maybe I cripplingly care about this specific part of me.
Yeah.
All of that to say, when you're here and I'm like finally doing stuff with music, the initial part of creating music, songs, is the most obnoxiously annoying part because you're like making almost like fart noises and like there's just all sorts of notes that are not supposed to be there and they sound weird and they're wrong and it's not right and I know it, but I gotta find it. And so I'm just kind of like getting there. And I'm over here so self-conscious that I almost turn my volume down. So like I can only hear the speakers within the 3 feet that I'm sitting away from them. But like, we talked about this before this. She's like, I've never once thought about it. And I'm over here like, God, what am I doing?
It makes me so sad because I'm like, no, I understand. Like I completely know that feeling and I'm sorry that you felt that way. But I know that that's part of the process and I've just never even thought of it.
I guess it's just also like the perfectionism side of me that goes, you could skip all of this gross part of the music and just make really good stuff all the time. And then I go, yeah, also, remember what happened last time we said that? We didn't write anything for 2.5 years or whatever.
You have to go through the bad stuff to appreciate the good stuff. Same thing with the beats.
Gosh, man, that is actually probably my least favorite part about creating. My
beginning.
Self-consciousness with the creation. Like
that is literally my least favorite part of creativity is the beginning, is not me having the thought. It's me.
It's like step 2.
Yeah. It's me having to explain my thought. Like I can picture exactly what I want in whatever circumstance. I can picture it, but then I have to explain it to usually Taylor, but you have to explain it to other people and you have to create the steps to plan it. And that is no fun for me.
Well, I wonder if we just haven't found the way that makes the most sense for you.
When you have an idea and it just like saying it out loud sounds ridiculous, but it's a good idea.
This is actually a relatively vulnerable thing. I haven't had that in a long time, not in the positive way of like, my ideas have all been great. When I say them out loud, they're awesome. It's more like, nope, just straight up have not had an idea. Not worth saying out loud.
Oh, no.
But now that I just said that out loud, actually.
Wait.
This was
I was going to say, Taylor's very good at, okay, maybe you don't have the initial idea, but my wild idea, I say it out loud and I'm like, I promise this is a good idea, but it's really coming out really bad. He's able to take what sounds like a terrible idea and like fix little things to actually make it happen. And then we collaborate on it. So it's like, it's a collaboration thing, even though you haven't had big ideas, let's say, even though you probably have, we're just not thinking of it. Like you help create the thing. So I get stuck, you come in, and then
I'm the handyman. Man, sometimes I don't want to be the handyman though. I just want to be the guy I just got the,
I guess someone's got to do
I guess you
it.
can't always get what you want, right? Is that going to be the theme of this? Just on
Maybe.
repeat? Gosh. Well, I say it like I don't actually enjoy the process of all of those things because I do
Yeah.
really enjoy all of that stuff. I don't know why I'm clarifying that really, but it's very interesting when I say that and I don't have the big ideas, but I'm not having the specific big ideas towards a creative art,
Yeah.
like a specific art medium.
Yeah.
And those are the ideas that I'm not having, that I'm concerned that I'm not having, that's frustrating to me. But I do have plenty, like making sure this podcast actually existed was definitely me, because you had the idea that you wanted to do one. And then we did all of the other stuff. And I was like, it makes sense now.
Yeah.
It works now. And I actually am super interested in being on it instead of behind it.
Which was shocking and very exciting.
You were shooketh.
I was. But, okay, so that's my least favorite. My favorite part of it
Oh,
is...
did I not ask you what your favorite part of
No.
creating is? What is your favorite part of creating? Wow. How did you guys let me get this far?
Mine is what you were saying you don't like, is the sharing it, because I actually like, my favorite part is the community aspect of it. So this has only become a thing in the past few years, but it's like when I create something, I put it out there, and then when other people consume it and create something new again out of it,
Remix it.
yeah, like that is the most amazing thing to me. Genuinely, it makes me want to cry because I'm like, that is so cool. Like they're not just consuming it, they're actually consuming it and then using it in their life
And reproducing it in their way, not in
that is
the
coolest
exact.
thing.
I love that so much. It's so interesting too that like that's like one of the best things that's happened with social media and all of that stuff, because it allows people to feel the freedom to recreate something that they've seen that's creatively out. And like when TikTok first came out, I was pretty not for it.
Mm-hmm.
I was pretty like, this seems silly. Like, why do we have another platform? And then the only things that were popular at first were like the stupid kitschy whatever. I don't remember if it was just the dances
things
or
over and over and over.
Yeah, and I was like, why? I'm like, it's all of you doing the same thing. That's not very original. And then I realized, not massively quickly, but I realized quick enough that I was like, this is actually awesome, because it's inspiring some really cool creativity from a lot of people that otherwise had no idea that they could be creative and they could express themselves this way. So I'm like, that's actually really, really cool.
Yeah.
And so it was very interesting. And I actually have made it very clear to myself. I think I said it to you too. I had to have said it to you too at some point, but I made it really clear that like any other social media stuff that comes out, any new anything, because I'm really for technology advancements. Like I'm here for it. I'm really excited about it. I mean, I'm not going and buying NFTs, but I'm not against NFTs or like the AI stuff.
Open.
I think it's really neat.
It's being open to the creativity. It's
being
open.
To it. But in the TikTok thing, I realized how stupid I felt and how stupid I knew I sounded to the people that understood what it was before I understood what it was.
There's nothing worse than that.
And I don't think anybody was thinking about it, because I wasn't like outwardly like very against it. I was just like, this seems dumb. And then I realized I'm dumb. This is actually cool.
Well, let's clarify. You're not actually dumb.
Well, in that conversation, yes. But I
spent so long being like, oh, what is this? I can't do this the reason I actually ended up doing it was because my students were telling me, no, I couldn't do it, that I was too old, that TikTok was not for me. And them, at first I was like, oh yeah, you're right. Like I'm going to stay off of this. And then I was like, you know what? No, you're wrong. I'm going to do it anyway. And it was so much fun because they were so mad about it, because like I was having so much fun on the platform, and then I was gaining an audience and all this stuff. And they were like, oh, no, which it ended up all working out and all being a good thing. But it's like being open to the thing, especially when people are telling you no. It's like, ooh, that was fun.
I'm less of the rebellious side of that. But
yeah.
I do know that about you, and now they know that about you. But I made the conscious thought to anytime new stuff would come out, do not say no.
Yeah.
Don't say like this is not whatever. Just like one, let it kind of simmer. Two, figure out what the company's actually saying. Three, see why people are saying no instead of just assuming that one of the opinions is like the only one, even if like one of the bigger like tech people or whatever is saying like, oh, this is whatever. This is negative this way for whatever reason. Or I follow a lot of the tech YouTube stuff, so that's why I said that.
Well, I was going to say like Threads, when it first came out, I was a bit like
you did the what I did for the TikTok. You're like, another one? Why? I don't need this. This is gonna be so much more work. And I'm like, it's such a vibe.
Yeah, he was so excited.
I was
and
so
here for it.
I still am in.
Yeah.
I love it.
And I'm coming around. I switched my attitude. I have good positive thoughts now.
Well, it's just, I mean, it's like anything. You also have to like, especially with social media stuff like that. And I learned this really quick with Threads, like everything that people didn't like about Threads at first, not to make this all about this, but like they were like so mad that it was none of their own stuff. Like none of the people they followed. Like it was all you weren't on it enough to really see that.
Got it.
But I saw it pretty quick and I went, well, they have to give you something.
What
you only have like 10 followers.
Yeah,
they
your
gotta
feed
give you
wasn't like people you follow. It. Yeah.
Why are you explaining when I'm explaining it?
Yeah, I didn't think you explained it well enough.
All right, well, I guess I'll see myself out of here, huh?
No, but social media, like in general, social media is really hard, and that's like a huge topic to like bring up and get into. But and I'm sure we will discuss it. But it's scary, and it's scary that like there's so much, and there's just so much to know and so much to keep up with, and it's like it's a lot.
It is a lot. I do think that mindset can go real bad real fast because even though it is a lot, it's also not that much.
Yeah.
It's kind of like it is a lot of effort and it's hard to keep up with and stuff. And it truly is a full-time job. So like anybody that does social media as a full-time job, it's really not worth scoffing about, especially with there being like she did the math today before we did this. You have to post on what, 8 or 12 platforms or something crazy to do it?
I had to write it out because I felt like I was missing something. Like I'm pretty good at posting on all the things that I need to post on, but it felt like I was missing something. So I made like a reminders list and I was like, you know what? I need to set this up for me to like remind me every day to post on each of these things, which is so much time and effort to do. And yeah, like people do not realize how much time and effort it is, how much it takes out of you.
Yeah, but that's okay. I mean, that's kind of part of it.
It's also, it's part of it. Like it's also fun at times.
So then what's your least favorite part about creating?
The beginning of it, the planning stages.
Oh, okay, so the pre-production,
which also
I'm just trying to circle back to it
because social media, like I have to figure out my posting schedule. Like that part of it is
okay, that makes more sense. I realized that we already mostly answered that question, but then I'm like, I feel like we didn't land as far onto that as you wanted.
No, I just hate the planning. I'm not a planner. I just want to be able to like do the thing, get it out there, and just not have to plan it.
That's so interesting.
Pre-production is difficult for me. I tried to I didn't tell you this. No. I tried to storyboard my YouTube video for this week, and I got 2 frames in, and then I called it quits.
Why?
Because I was like trying to. It's really funny, actually. I was trying to draw. Oh my God, I'm going to cry. I was trying to draw my feet.
Did you forget a toe? You didn't forget the skater's toe, did you? I'm going to make it work.
I'm crying.
Well, we got to give her a moment. So initially when we had talked about what my least favorite part about creating was, we had a conversation like last week about about editing and how a lot of video creators get lost in the edit, and like that's their favorite part about the video process is like getting lost in the edit. And I was like, I've never ever once gotten lost in the edit, so I don't understand or know what that feels like, which is slightly ironic because a lot of people say that my biggest strength with video is my editing,
Mm-hmm.
which is ironic. But I realized quickly that I have gotten lost in the edits, but it was when I initially was learning video, and it was the like passion side of it with just you. But my, I guess, career with video, like full steam ahead so fast happened that like I had actual deadlines and projects and jobs and things that made any getting lost in the edit just absolutely disappear. And now I'm like, coming back to
You
it.
didn't have time to get lost.
There was no time because every project I did was like, it's due when I'm telling you this project is happening. And I'm like, oh my gosh, okay, let's go.
There's a super fine line of that, like creating deadlines for yourself and encouraging yourself to do it. And sometimes you have to have those deadlines in order to make it happen, like forcing the creativity. But then that also can be very stifling. Like you don't have enough time to make it the product that you want it to be.
Yeah. I mean, I guess, so it kind of has to be a little bit of an ebb and a flow too. Like sometimes having those deadlines to push you to learn how to do stuff as fast as you can is like one of the best things. Like I will say that like me having all of those deadlines, I don't think I would have ever gotten to be as fast of a video editor and as like good at just making it happen and understanding what the clips are and sifting through stuff really fast.
Yeah.
But also I'm not good at it if I didn't shoot it or I don't know who shot it. If like I'm not like close with the person that shot it, I am not nearly as fast.
I can't say if I am or am not because I film everything that I then edit. So that's
you get some stuff from me, but
yeah, but I can edit that. Like I know your style well enough that I can edit it. But yeah, that's really interesting.
It's actually kind of interesting. It's like it becomes an instinctual thing. Like when you know the videographer,
yeah,
and you know how they shoot and how you shoot, and you've had enough communication and conversation with them, it then becomes like, oh, I know where the shot's going.
And so I know why you did this thing.
Yeah, so you can kind of, you don't even have to watch it in real time. You can actually just kind of scrub through it and know where the spots or get really close. And then you just kind of massage it in. But, that's neither here nor there for that.
It's like me, okay, so like my YouTube tutorials when I first started that, which feels like a lifetime ago, but that it was like I had to do it weekly and I had to get it out and I had to do it. Like it forced the creativity, and that in that aspect it wasn't a negative thing because I did learn how to edit.
Yeah.
I learned all that stuff.
I actually need to set a record straight here. For many years now, I really appreciate that a lot of you have given I'll just keep it to a lot of you have given me a lot of credit that I do not deserve. I have not edited any of Nicole's content that you guys see since 2020.
Yeah.
Genuinely. I do not edit it.
Actually, I think before that even.
Yeah. Well, I didn't really help you at all with the YouTube. I basically like over the shoulder, this is good, this is bad. Here's how you do the edit. And that was it.
He does fix my audio every now and then. If something sounds good, it's probably because there are different ones that you didn't
sound bad. Like you don't do anything that sounds bad.
No, but there's vlogs that I can tell you didn't help with because like the sound wasn't quite there. Or I was like up until 3 a.m. editing it and posting it, and he was already asleep, so I couldn't ask him. This is what I get for not planning, for not doing the pre-production.
Yeah, you don't get my good audio.
But it is a really funny thing that like people have always thought that he's the one shooting and editing it, and anything that's not on a tripod, yes, that is usually him.
Sometimes on the tripod I shoot too when the shot turns.
But I do edit it. I will take the credit for that.
She honestly deserves it. She's very good at editing her stuff.
Thank you.
I always felt bad. I didn't want to be like, no, I don't deserve this. I'm not going to say thank you for this.
It's a weird thing to be like, actually, you're wrong.
Yeah, I'm not. It's not worth the conversation. Also, you're being so nice to me about an artistic thing that I'm helping you with anyway. So like, it's not worth me being like, no, you're not allowed to be nice to me. But I do want to clear that
Yeah.
I really don't do much of anything outside of the audio, which she can totally do. It's not.
He's just so much better at it.
I guess, that is something from the 10 plus years of dealing with audio that I understand better than you, because you haven't dealt with it that long. That would make sense. I do have one more thing from Threads. I posted this one. This is all from this noggin right here.
Nugget from that noggin.
I wasn't going to call it a nugget. It doesn't feel like it deserves that high tier of anything.
It's not wise.
No.
Give
maybe.
It to us.
So how do you not get overwhelmed with social media? This is a genuine question from me to you, because let me give you a little backstory. So love Threads, stoked on Threads. My Threads, because I just went down the rabbit hole, is all really, really dope film photography and photography. Like, way too good for anybody's good. Like, I scroll and it's just like, amazing photo, amazing photo, amazing photo, amazing photo. That's a really cool vibe. Amazing photo. And I'm like, how am I, like, what on earth do I even have to offer any of this? I understand that is a very bad headspace to let myself go into. It is also not true.
There's enough room for everyone.
Yes. Well, also, art is very subjective. So you could think that art that I think is amazing is a turd. I will say that you're wrong if you do, but
I must say it's a nugget.
But I do think that Threads specifically, I mean, a lot of people are very overwhelmed with Instagram. And I think I've just kind of taken the pressure away from myself with Instagram, that it's not as stressful as I found Threads, because I found such a high bar to like meet everybody at, that like I felt like what I do is, I wouldn't say not good enough. But it's not like, I'm just kind of like, wow, that's all amazing. I think some of my stuff is pretty good, but it's not amazing, so I don't want to share it. And then art's subjective. So like, my stuff might be more amazing to some people than that, but like, when you cook your own meal, it's never as good as if somebody else makes it for you.
That is very true. I think that everyone gets overwhelmed. I think that there's really no avoiding it, but you have to bounce back pretty quick. You have to take the good, take the bad. And I mean, luckily I am like myself on the internet. I'm not some sort of character. I'm like doing the things that I want to do, and I'm posting the things that I want to post. Nobody's like dictating what I have to do. So I kind of just make it part of my life, which I don't necessarily know if that's good or bad, but it is just part of my life. Like, I don't turn it off at a certain time. It's always there. But I also try not to put too much pressure on it. So it's like back in 2020, when I was like putting out video after video, it was like not quality over content. What is it saying?
It was quantity over quality.
Yes, that's it. Because part of posting on the internet is like, you have to put out a lot of content to be seen. You just have to. But at the same time, that is such a challenge, because you want it to be quality and you want to be super proud of the things you put out. So I think everyone does get overwhelmed. It's important to take breaks and not necessarily like scorched earth, like
not like my unplug, plug back in over 2+ years.
Yeah, not
Okay.
that.
Okay.
It's like
Noted. I won't do it again.
it's like, take a step back. Like Taylor in the past has told me, like, hey, you gotta chill. Like, you gotta take a moment. Maybe don't respond to people for the weekend. Like, you don't have to respond so quickly. You're like, for a while, I would respond quicker on my Instagram DMs than my text messages. I was on it constantly. And that was a bit overwhelming. So I had to take a step back. And like, for me, I don't open social media first thing in the morning. I do my entire morning routine and then I go on social media. So it's like, I'm clear-minded, I'm good with myself. And that is a huge part of it because it's like the internet is a wild place. Social media is a wild place. And I'm grateful for all of it. I think it's an amazing time to be alive, like the good and the bad. It's just all a lot. And you have to be very confident in yourself and know that you're okay. Like people will say things, people might not like you, people might hate you, people might love you. But if you're okay with yourself and you're super confident, then you're good. Like you can step out of it and be like, oh, no, I'm okay. I'm still here. I'm good.
So are you saying that in the wise words of Ted Lasso, be a goldfish?
Yes.
Wow.
Also, I love Ted Lasso. Yes.
Yeah, that's a side note. Sorry, I didn't mean to have Ted steal your thunder on that one, but that really, be a goldfish. Just let it happen.
Yeah. You got to just like step away and be able to take a look around you and know if you're okay. Like when I was competing, I grew up competing like that. And social media is very much like that. It's all competition. Like you're putting your art, now that I know that I am creative and it was art, I'm putting my art out there and people are judging it. And they're either going to like it or they're not going to like it. And I mean, on social media, you don't really win, but like you're going to win or you're not going to win. And you're going to live, you're going to move on. Like so many times in my life, I had to tell myself, okay, my routine is 2.5 minutes. I can do anything for 2.5 minutes. Am I going to die in this 2.5 minutes? Because a lot of times it feels like you're going to. And I had to remind myself, like, this is not life or death. Like, I'm going to be okay. And that's kind of how I view a lot of things in life.
There was a nugget from Nicole. Look at that. We got a nugget from Nicole.
You're welcome.
Nicole's Nuggets.
Aw, that's
you know
so
what?
cute.
You know what? That makes me really, really want boneless wings. Boneless wings are little chicken nuggets that are
sounds
spicy.
really good. I wasn't going to make that for dinner, but
boneless chicken wings.
We could make it happen.
I don't know, man. Do we make that happen? I said this the last time. We have a very bad habit of recording this late. We also have not had dinner.
But we're improving. We did start this while it was still light outside.
Yes, it's definitely not light out. It's oh, you know what? It's just barely dark out.
Yeah, we're good.
It's summer.
We're getting better.
Love it. Okay. Well, on that note, thank you so much for watching this again. And listening, thank you so much for being here. I cannot overstate how appreciative we are for you.
This is going to be fun. This is fun.
I enjoy this a lot. I am very excited to see comments and reviews and everything about it because I am curious about your opinions, and the comments that we got on the last episode are great.
Yeah,
so
they're really
on
good.
That note, please please subscribe.
All the things.
If you want the episodes early and you want some exclusives, join the memberships on YouTube, or I almost said MySpace. Join the
tnfiore.com.
Yeah, tnfiore.com. There's memberships. It's the same thing, just if you prefer YouTube, prefer our website, whichever is best for you. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
We will see you next time.
Bye.